So this is an update to my woman with a penis video that I made back in July of 2021. This is now March. So this is March 2022. I made a woman with a penis video back in July 2021. Several months, which was several months before I started the hormones. I started hormones in around September of 2021. So I've been on hormones now for a little bit over 6 months. I just passed my 6-month mark about a week ago. And I wanted to just go ahead and make an update to this, and I may make another update in another 6 months to this subject, or maybe once I have a little more experience with this topic. I said in the previous video, I may have to change clothes actually. Can you see? So I pointed out in the previous video, because I had not started hormones, that I didn't actually consider myself to be a woman with a penis. And so I was talking about how I couldn't really, talk on that subject as an authority. But I still can't really talk on that subject as an authority, at least as far as, like, say, sexual relationships go, because I have not had a sexual relationship since before I started the hormones. It's been, I don't even know how long, 10 years. So, but the hormones have kind of changed things. I mean, they have changed the way that I see my genitals, I guess you could say, but not in a conclusive way. So I'm still a little bit uncertain kind of about what you might call my role, if that makes sense, my place, and the place of my penis. Does it have a place? Do I get to keep it? Kind of thing. You might say it is my choice, of course, and I agree it is my choice. I am tempted to change clothes and put on some makeup for this video. What I may do is do a makeover in the process of the video. I don't mean like, while I'm talking. Maybe that could work, but just do like a cut. So how's that? Not bad, huh? I like this shirt better. I like this look better. It's a little bit scary. But yeah, so where to start? As I said, that there have been changes that maybe are worth noting since my previous video. Not conclusive, like I said. So what changes am I talking about? I'm struggling to see myself as usual without my glasses on. But I think I look halfway decent. I think I should push my eyebrows up or something. If I talk like that. Yeah. I got hair all on my face. But so just one change that's happened is I'm having sexual dreams, which if you watch the first video, you know that I said that I don't really have sexual fantasies, and I do make the distinction between. I don't mean the same thing as what I was talking about then, that I am talking about like actually, being asleep, dreaming. But even those are, like I said, they don't give me any kind of conclusive, like I'm certain this is the path for me. But they do give me hope. Like I had one dream where I was with a girl in a car, in the back seat of a car, riding around with her parents. We're not riding around. We were riding to her house and to her parents' house, and I was a woman with a penis, which was not totally apparent until we actually got back to her house and we got naked. And I laid down on her couch. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit uneasy. I was laying down on her couch and I laid back like this, not with my arms like that, but I'm trying to hold myself up. But I kind of laid back and arched my back like that, and my breast kind of slid back towards my face a little bit, so that there was like an actual crease on this side of the breasts. And she liked that when she saw it. She saw my breasts moving, and as I moved, and it did something for her. And so she came and straddled me, and I started to have that feeling like I was getting aroused, and which was unusual. And we didn't have sex in the dream. I actually woke up, but before I woke up, I remember not thinking that I wanted to have sex with the woman. What I remember thinking was I wanted to know the woman. That's what I said to her in my head, was I want to know you. And it seemed almost as though sex were the way to do that, which I thought was kind of interesting, because one of the things that's always stuck out to me from the Bible is that when, like, the old biblical prophets are mentioned as having sex with their wives, and the Bible doesn't say that they had sex with their wives, it says that they had knowledge of their wives. And that I was always curious about that. What is that? What exactly does that mean? Like, I have my own kind of romantic ideas about what that meant, or what it means. And that was kind of what happened in the dream is very similar to kind of what I imagined that means. That it was that sex was a way to get to know somebody, if that makes sense. That it was a kind of form of communication. But this was something that I've never even thought of, like during sex, if I was as a man, seeing myself as a man, having sex with a woman, that kind of thought of like, I want to get to know you, this is a way to get to know you, that just never occurred to me. Even though, like I said, I had thought about that biblical thing as meaning that, it was never in my mind during sex. And so that was interesting. Like I said, the dream was nothing. There was nothing conclusive about it. There was no like I was meant to have a penis for sex with women, or even with men too. Nothing like that. Like, I never got into penetration with her. I woke up before it could get to that point. But I've had a few more dreams similar to that. I believe I did have one penetration dream, but most of the other dreams were very similar to that one, where it was either I was a woman with a penis, or I think the woman at least kind of saw me as being womanish, not necessarily a woman, if that makes sense. Because in one dream, I don't remember seeing myself with breasts, but I don't remember seeing my chest at all in that dream. So that is one change, is just the dreams, which is unusual. Like I said in the other video, I said that I don't usually have sexual fantasies, but even sexual dreams I don't have, or I didn't have in the past. And that was a little bit of a cause of concern for me. I mean, it's not the fact that I didn't really have sexual dreams, but just fantasies and dreams in general, that bothered me a little bit. That was partly what made me think that I was trans was this uh, kind of just not seeing clearly what it was that I wanted. And I still don't see clearly what I want, but it is, I feel like it is getting clearer. I'm drinking a hot latte, triple. I think I may have to move up to the quadruple or the quintuple. Let's see. But yeah, one of the things that made me think that I was trans was the fantasies that I had when I fell in love with a woman. This was like 14 years ago, and at that time I wasn't really thinking that I was trans. I was confused. I felt kind of confused about who I was. I was not then. At that point, I hadn't stopped dating yet. Uh, but she and I didn't date. We went out a few times. It was like a date, or it was like dating because we would go out together. You might think that is dating, but she had a boyfriend the entire time. We were never really like we would go out, maybe to a bar, spend an hour or two at the bar, and then go our separate ways. And that was kind of the extent of our relationship. That thing that was like, well, I can be myself with her, that did kind of manifest in fantasies. Uh, but even those were not sexual. They were romantic. But it was things like her and I up together in the clouds, kind of thing. Up in like a tower in the clouds with like the sunshine coming in, and I'm wearing like some kind of silk slip. It wasn't like a slip because slips are usually, I think, kind of slightly tight, but this was more like a kind of flowing, like the wind would blow it, and it was kind of very. It wasn't very masculine at all. And that was one of the things that made me start thinking that I was trans, or that I wasn't using the word trans so much then, but it was very much like it made me question kind of my masculinity. It was because I was writing a poem for that vision that I had. It was this kind of like silk and white drapes down my spine, and I remember thinking, is it my spine that the silk and white is draping down? Is it not hers? What? This doesn't make any sense. And but that felt right. It seemed like that was the right thing for me to write, the right thing for me to see. But I was like, why am I picturing this? This is a little bit disturbing. And but prior to that, I had not had good sexual relationships with women. I had had sexual relationships with women. Sometimes it was good, but for the most part, the relationship itself was either anxiety inducing, or I just didn't feel like I was in love with the girl. It was just like I just wanted sex type thing. Oh. Um. So. Uh, I do think that there is some part of accepting my a feminine side, or being a woman, whatever you want to call it, and my ability to relate to people, my ability to connect with people, um, to love people. And I don't mean to have feelings of love for them, but to actually engage in, you might call it sexual encounters, but just to and actually engage in loving someone. Uh, I think it, for me at least, I think it may be necessary for sex. Uh, I know I titled that video "A Place in the Social Order," but for me, uh, it is. It's not just about being having a place in the social order, but about me actually just being able to have an enjoyable sex life. Uh, I feel it just making this video. I mean, just looking kind of at myself compared to what I saw before when I was dressed the way I was before, and just talking to myself here, seeing the difference, seeing kind of how I have or had a kind of shyness, kind of uneasiness expressing myself, this kind of constant self-conscious, uh, self-monitoring, self-doubting, self-questioning kind of thing that always happened, that I think is one of the reasons why I have no relationships whatsoever. Now, that's a little bit of an extreme way to put it. I do have relationships, but they're just not, to me, they're not satisfying. They're not real relationships. Maybe they could be. My two closest friends are overseas. I talk to them online mostly. But anyways, uh, so seeing kind of how much this kind of being okay with being seen as a woman has changed, uh, kind of how I see my relationships, or the way that I don't want to call it a role in relationships, but the way that I am to kind of interact with people, I guess. That is more apparent now. I see that, not in a conclusive way, but I do see it as kind of becoming clear. It is just kind of this fog is kind of dispersing, whatever you want to call it. If you think of I'm picturing like this movie thing where like the camera's coming into focus and this image is kind of becoming clear, resolved, and so there's definitely some aspect to like the feminine side, the feminine self, me at least acting like a woman. There is something to that, and my ability to interact, to have emotional, meaningful relationships. So, of course, this is about being a woman with a penis, and that, of course, refers to sexual relationships, sexual encounters, even, but sexual relationships in general. And there was a lot when I think I mentioned it in the other video, the first video that I made, the 6 months ago, that I had quite a bit of fear about the idea surrounding the idea that I was trans, and the biggest fear that I had was that I would discover that I had no use for my penis, that I would basically, that I was meant to have a vagina, that I would, if I progressed down this path, that I would kind of see that as kind of an inevitable or unavoidable kind of thing, and I didn't want to see that. I still don't want to see that. Um, I have a friend who constantly sends me SRS photos, post surgery type things. A lot of times with stitches still there and that kind of thing. And I'm like, I really don't want to see this. I don't even want to think about that. Part of that is just from kind of the horror stories that I've heard. I shouldn't call them horror stories, but I have seen quite a bit of regret from the trans community among trans women for the SRS surgery. That is one of the things I read when I was first researching trans people, was that the biggest regret for trans women was the SRS, getting the sexual reassignment surgery. And but yet I still see trans doing it. I still see not just doing it, but like putting all their kind of hope, not all their hope, but kind of seeing it as like the final step to them becoming their real self and that kind of thing. And when I see that, I'm a little bit like I almost want to grab them by the arm and say, are you sure about this? So for me, that is one of those things where it's like it's still on the table. I still consider it a possibility, but it is something that I at the moment I am kind of like I don't think I even really want to go in that direction, which is one of the reasons why I'm making this video, why I'm kind of stuck on this idea. And then there are things that kind of go to this idea, which is porn. I have seen enough transgender porn, should I say tranny porn, to convince me that it is a viable option, that this is not just a wishful thinking. And but even that for me is not conclusive. It does still kind of cause me a little bit of self-doubt, and that's just because like a lot of times when I watch it, I'm not really, a lot of times I'm not turned on by it. I don't feel like it's necessarily what I want to see, and there are times when I am. There are times when I see it and I am kind of like, that's me. There is a part of me, a part of that self-doubt comes from kind of this idea that women don't want that from, they don't want that for sex. They want like manliness and that kind of thing. And I get that. But I think there was a lot of the, when I was, a lot of the doubt that I had about being trans in general was that it was kind of this fear that if I, as a woman, that women would not love me, kind of thing. And I think that's one part of the reason why I am kind of, unfavorable to the idea of sexual reassignment surgery. I know there are lesbians, but for me, that just, I feel kind of like, what better lesbian sex is there than between two women where one of them has a penis? Uh, because even lesbians use substitutes. So yeah, I did have, or I do have, some things pulling me back. Some things that are just like, no, hold on to this idea that your penis is for good. that it's not a mistake. It's not a whatever you want to call it. But that when I see porn or things like that, it does help, but it's not. Uh, that by itself is not enough, and but things have changed. I mean, it's just past 6 months that I've been on hormones, and just thinking there are a few girls who I have thought about in the last just month or so, who like when I think about them, sometimes I actually think I don't want to talk about too much about it because they might be watching this, but I do feel like there is that part of me that sees this potential sexual relationship and sees it as two women basically together, but with the same penetration type situation that you would have between a man and a woman. And it's enjoyable for me, and there are things about it that I would say that I like. You might say, well, what's the difference if you're going to be doing that? Like, what would be the difference between that and just having sex with a woman as a man? And for me, what I see sometimes is this thing where it's like I can make a woman feel beautiful through sex, and it seems to have something to do with this. Like if I'm okay with being a woman, then I can make her feel like it's okay to be a woman. I think that if a woman is with a man who maybe she likes him because he's manly, maybe she feels attracted, and maybe the sex has that kind of animal magnetism kind of thing going on. But if he has a kind of an internalized misogyny, if he kind of hates the idea of himself being a woman, to the fact or to the extent that he might want to kill himself if he woke up one day and found himself as a woman, or he would rather die than become a woman. I think that to some degree that is going to affect the sexual relationship, and I think that because of the change in how I feel from having sex as a man with a woman to at least thinking about having sex with a woman as a woman. So because that was, for me, that was the case. I would definitely say that man, this is a bit tough. I would definitely say that I had some amount of internalized misogyny, that I was afraid to be seen as a woman. I was afraid to put myself in a woman's shoes. And now that for me that may be different than for another uh, other men, because if I am trans, then that's that would have no doubt affect my relationships, which I would say is maybe the reasons why I don't have relationships. But maybe for other men it's different. Maybe they don't. Maybe there's internalized misogyny is not quite as much self hate as it was for me. I mean, if I am trans, then internalized misogyny is essentially self hate. So that might be different than for other men, but I still think that if a man, let's say he is a manly man, if if he does have internalized misogyny, or if he is just a misogynist uh, in general, then that I think that would affect the relationship sexually. That a woman might feel like she can't open up, like she can't uh, be totally engaged during sex, emotionally engaged, because there's that part of him that's saying, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. You know, I'm basically just using you for physical pleasure, but I would never be you. I would not want to be you. Uh, Now, but that's I don't know that that's real. I don't know that is actually how it is. I'm just saying that because when I have these new fantasies, or these new just thinking about like being with a woman now, I do feel like there's this just sense that I can make a woman who doesn't feel beautiful, who doesn't feel appreciated, that I can make her feel that way through sex, that I can just make her feel good about being a woman. But it's only if I can feel good about being a woman and not be, you know, bashing myself for being like a woman and that kind of thing. Uh, so to that, I might say that there is a place in the social order for women with a penis. uh, for that reason, I think that I understand. I don't because I don't want this to be like a man bashing thing. Like, but I understand like the desire to be with a manly man. Like I get it, and but the way I see, if there is like a role for a woman with a penis, I would say it is more. I don't say more healing, but it does kind of involve connection more than what you might typically think of as for gay sex. I'm sorry, straight sex. uh, Maybe gay sex too. I don't know. Maybe I could make a man feel beautiful. I don't know, but that is kind of the direction that I'm leaning towards at the moment. Now, if I haven't said it already, I don't have any experience since I started hormones. At least I have no sexual experience whatsoever. Uh, it's been a long time, but I don't feel like I'm ready yet. I don't feel like I am up for that. I still have dreams. I think I mentioned that I've been having sexual dreams now for the first time, but some of my dreams are not very reassuring. I had a dream about a girl a couple nights ago, and it was a very disturbing dream because we were interested in each other in the dream, but when she got on top of me, I couldn't do anything, which was not unusual in the past. And that was kind of where a lot of my hang-ups around sex came from, was this kind of impotence, kind of anxiety around performing, that kind of thing. And there's a part of me, when I think I mentioned it in the 6-month old video, that there was a part of me that kind of hoped that transition would cure that I could become a powerful she-male sexual partner. Because some she-males are powerful sexual partners, from what I've seen anyways, on the internet. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm gonna stop right there for right a second. I gotta go to the bathroom. Me. So, one of the things that I did mention in the older video, I don't know what to call it. Maybe I should just call it the older video, the original take on this subject. I did mention that I was writing a story, and I had a group in that story, a religious organization. It was this is a science fiction story. This is like in another galaxy type thing. And so I came up with this religion, kind of matriarchal religion. Where it was, the religion was kind of the objective was to be feminine, if that makes sense. There was lovemaking was one of their main practices. You might think of like tantric sex, something like that. That was kind of their thing. But a lot of the men in that religion would become she-males, and they did that for purposes of having sex the way that the purpose of sex that they were trying to achieve, you might say, was only they could only accomplish basically as women with the penis. And I wrote that probably a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe even before that. But as I said, I just started hormones like 6 months ago, so I had no idea what I was talking about when I wrote that. But what it seems is that I was on to something, that I was going in the right direction. And I say that because of experiences that I've had, some just from masturbating, thinking about things, looking at myself in the mirror, like dressing up as a woman with a wig and makeup, and putting on a dress and that kind of thing, and doing my business that way. What I felt was that there is something to that idea. There is something to the idea of actually having sexual relationships as a woman with a penis. So, I'm not going to say like the next step is to actually try a sexual relationship, because like I said, at the moment I don't feel quite ready. I still have questions, doubts, maybe. Some of that comes from like the dreams that I've had, like the last dream that I had where I just couldn't couldn't get an erection, and there are still doubts that when I just feel like this is just a kind of denial, a form of denial, that I haven't quite put that to rest yet. And maybe trying it would actually help put it to rest. I don't know. But what I think is the next step is not that, but just to actually just be more okay, like seeing myself as a woman, being more okay, kind of just in my head, like as far as being okay with who I am, if that makes sense. Even though that sexual part does have a big part of that. A lot of that anxiety comes from that, because I do kind of feel like the being in love with a woman. I have, we're not together, but I have had many kind of, I don't know, like if she called me up today and said, I'm ready, I want to be with you, I am willing to accept you as trans, I'm kind of like, I don't think I'm up for the challenge of that yet. That's kind of where I'm at. Because I don't want to disappoint her. I don't want to not be able to satisfy her, that kind of thing. But that was, that's kind of where I'm coming from. I mean, that was years and years and years of that. Not necessarily with her specifically, but with a lot of the girls that I dated. It wasn't just the kind of fear of satisfying them. It was because a lot of times I wasn't satisfied myself. But that was part of it. Part of it was just feeling like I wasn't getting what I wanted and not knowing how to get it. I felt like there was something to the idea of being a woman, or being treated like a woman at least. Like I remember wanting the girls that I was with to do things like to kiss my body, to caress me, things like that. I remember having sex with the girl once and she just had her hands kind of like by her side, and I had to actually pick up her hands and put them on my back, because just that porn type sex for me just was not enough. I felt like I needed just more intimacy, more connection, less, I don't want to say less physicality. That doesn't make any sense, but I don't want sex that is just masturbation between two pieces of meat. Because I've had that before. I've had that sex that was just, it's like you're just a piece of meat and I'm just trying to get off. It's like I'm masturbating and I'm using you as basically just a meat pocket for me to put my thing in.